welcome to Jewish World Weekly on I-24 News. I'm Emily Francis. Every week we focus on stories, issues, and personalities of Jewish interest, both here in Israel and throughout the global Jewish community. And as always, we start with our top 5 items in the Jewish world, presented by Sarah Rogers. Hi, Sarah.
Thanks, Emily. Here are the top 5 items in the Jewish world this week. We start in the United States, where families of October 7th victims are taking on one of the biggest names in crypto. They filed a lawsuit accusing Binance CEO Changpeng Zhou, recently pardoned by Donald Trump, of deliberately and repeatedly facilitating more than $1 billion in payments to Hamas and allied terrorist groups. The suit claims that at least $50 million continued to move after the October 7th attack, suggesting the funding actually didn't really stop. In Poland, a political firestorm is erupting after far-right lawmaker Grzegorz Braun declared that Poland is for Poles, while standing outside the Auschwitz-Birkenau death camp. Braun dismissed government efforts to support Jewish life and compared them to bringing a dangerous neighbor closer. He said a new national strategy to combat anti-Semitism would, quote, give Jews special privileges. The backlash came quickly, with officials including Justice Minister Waldemar Żurek condemning the remarks and launching an investigation. And now to Namibia, where a local election is grabbing global attention as one of the candidates is literally named Adolf Hitler Unona. The longtime councillor says the name was given to him by his father during the country's German colonial era and insists that he shares none of the dictator's ideology. Unona has held office since 2004 and has won his last race with 85% of the vote. In Colombia, authorities have rescued 17 children and detained 9 adults linked to the ultra-Orthodox cult Lefta'or after a raid on a hotel in Yarumal. Lefta'or has been under scrutiny for years and in multiple countries for suspected child abuse, kidnapping, and exploitation. Officials say that the operation happened just in time, right before the group could establish a new compound. And finally, some uplifting news from New York, where more than 2,700 people gathered at the Javits Center for the Big Shabbat, setting a new Guinness World Record for the largest Shabbat dinner ever. With 68 chefs, hundreds of volunteers, over 800 pounds of potatoes, and more than 400 challahs, it was a huge celebration of community spirit and Jewish unity. These are the top 5 items in the Jewish world this week. Back to you, Emily.
Saudi Arabia, not exactly a place that one associates with being friendly for Jewish people to visit, but a forward-thinking man is trying to change all that. Rabbi Jacob Herzog calls himself the chief rabbi of Saudi Arabia, despite the country not giving religious titles to non-Muslims. And he houses the only Chabad house in the country. Having spent the last 2 years in and out of reservist duty, he is now going back full steam ahead on his plan to improve Jewish relations as the kingdom opens up more to the West. Here's more from Rabbi Herzog with our very own Joe Brown.
Rabbi Herzog, thank you so much for joining us today. You have quite a curious job. You're a rabbi in Saudi Arabia. You refer to yourself as the chief rabbi of Saudi Arabia. Can you tell me a day in your life? What happens? How do you feel you are received in the kingdom, being a visibly Orthodox Jewish man?
Well, from the beginning, we were received very hospitably in the kingdom. We never had any problems there from day one. Wherever I go in the kingdom, if it's to Jeddah or up to Neom, or places even like Medina or down south, we never had any problems with the locals. On the contrary, they know exactly who I am, what my religion is, and there's a lot of respect and a lot of dialogue, a lot of questions. They show a lot of interest.
What kind of a relationship do you have with the Saudi royal family?
Well, I'm grateful that they allowed me to come and do what I do in the kingdom. In Saudi Arabia, it's very simple. If they allow you to do something, then you do it. If not, then you understand that they don't want you there.
Well, at the moment, there aren't any relations between Israel and Saudi Arabia, and they can be at times a little bit frosty. And for the best part of 2 years, you have been serving in the IDF in reservist duty. How does that get received back in Saudi Arabia?
Well, from the people that I know that I'm in touch with in Saudi Arabia, and even before this war, they knew that I'm a reserve officer in the IDF, that I was drafted in 1996. It's not something new. And even before the war, I did hundreds of days in reserves, something which in the Middle East, they respect power. They respect the fact that I know how to protect myself, protect my family, protect my people, protect my land. So that's something which I think is actually an advantage in this part of the world.
And hopefully there'll be an expansion of the Abraham Accords, and one of the top names on the list, the crown jewel, as Israel calls it, is Saudi Arabia. Let's just say, in an ideal world, that there is a normalization between the two countries. How do you expect the Jewish life to flourish as a result of this?
Well, it's important to understand that the relationship between Jews and Muslims all over the Middle East existed before the establishment of the State of Israel, before any accords, and that's something that we have a long history together within the region. What I'm doing doesn't have to do with any political agreement this way or that way. The only thing I anticipate is that if there is some sort of agreement, many more Israelis will be coming for business, will be coming as tourists, and for whatever reason they may come, it'll cause more traffic to come.
And another country that could be on the list of the expansion of Abraham Accords is Syria. Not long after the Assad regime fell, you visited there and you spoke to some senior Syrian officials. That's one of the oldest Jewish communities there, and one of the oldest synagogues that was surviving up until the civil war, the Jobar synagogue. Do you think that if there is some kind of future relations between Israel and Syria, or even right now under Ahmed al-Sharaa, that the community there can once again thrive, maybe even to levels it were previous to 1948?
Well, I don't think that people who left Syria or their children or grandchildren are going to go back and relocate to Syria. It might bring a lot of visitors, a lot of curiosity, some business, but it's going to be it's something totally different. It's not going to be going back to what was before.
And let's just say, as a Jewish tourist, I'm looking to visit Saudi Arabia. What do you think I should do when I'm in the kingdom?
Well, we could start from the north. The Al Ula region is a beautiful region, a lot of beautiful nature reserves, very, very good energy up there. You could go see Al Ula. It's also a very biblical area, according to some of the Shitot. Mount Sinai is there, Jabal al-Awaz. A lot of our commentators actually say that we went from one side of the Red Sea to the other. So the other side is Saudi Arabia. There are a lot of villages there with the names of the different stations that we had while wandering in the desert for 40 years. So it's an area which also has a lot of burial sites, which date back to that era of our wandering in the desert, as opposed to Egypt, for example, where there's no real evidence to 600,000 people walking around the desert over there, as opposed to in Saudi Arabia, you have a lot of artifacts and archaeology, which proves that there was a nation wandering around there for a long time.
Well, let's hope so. Maybe to paraphrase a phrase used on Passover, L'shana haba'a b'Riyadh.
The main thing is that we should normalize the relations with ourselves first as Jewish people, and then we could, normalize with the rest of the world. Thank you.
Let's hope so. Rabbi Herzog, thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure.
For nearly 200 years, B'nai B'rith International has been an essential voice in combating anti-Semitism, promoting Jewish unity and community, and so much more. And now, after 4 decades at the organization, our next guest, Dan Mariaschin, is retiring. And we're happy to have us in the studio, even though it's for circumstances that I know a lot of people are going to be quite disappointed to see you go.
Well, thank you for having me. And it's good to be here in Israel. To talk about some of the things that I've seen over the years and to be present here where news is made every day. So.
I know, it sure is. I mean, you think being from New York originally and now living in Washington, there's news every day, but here it's a whole different level. But explain, because it was started really early on, how has the original mission in which it was founded been able to have been carried on in the legacy, as we see B'nai B'rith International today?
The organization was founded by 12 German Jewish immigrants back in 1843. And the story goes that there was an indigent widow, and these 12 guys came together to raise what we believe was the princely sum of $27 then, to help this widow and her family. That mission of volunteerism, of working in the community, of seeking to help those in need, that really has traveled all the way through these many decades, now to 182 years.
So what has made you be there so long? I mean, you worked there, and then you've been in the CEO for 26 years?
26 years.
26 years young you are. So how have you seen things change and carry forward just, in your tenure? I mean, we've seen a lot of history being made during that time.
Yeah, it's almost a case of the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah.
So when I came into this field, which was before that, because I've been working for over 50 years in this field, there was the Soviet Jewry movement, the Syrian Jewry movement. 1975, we're now 50 years from the Zionism equals racism resolution. Issues about anti-Semitism largely in Europe, not so much in the United States. So over the years, things have kind of stayed the same. But over the years, the anti-Semitism issue is now in the States, which we're dealing with. We are at the United Nations. Israel has always had difficulties at the UN. B'nai B'rith is accredited at the UN, in New York, in Geneva, where the Human Rights Council is, where we have a lot of bias against Israel, UNESCO in Paris. So there's been kind of this continuum of history, which has also stayed very true to our initial mission. We provide housing for senior citizens, affordable housing, Jewish and non-Jewish, projects that are done together with the federal government in the United States. And we assist the victims of natural disasters, tsunamis and hurricanes and tornadoes. So it's pretty much stayed the same with variations along the way.
So now is an interesting time. Like, why are you choosing this time to kind of fold up your coat and you want to just, what's next for you and why now, I guess?
Well, I certainly won't be walking away from the issues.
Of course.
But it's time, I think, to do some things that I've liked to do and haven't really had the time. When you're a CEO in any field, in any business, in any organization, you're really not in control of your schedule. So I hope to write a book, which a lot of people hope to do. This is something I really would like to do and see it come to fruition. And then my arrangement with B'nai B'rith is to continue to stay on for a while and to work on issues that I care deeply about. For example, Holocaust restitution issues, helping survivors and their families to get their properties back or to get compensation back. And I do a podcast, and I'll be doing that. So there'll be plenty to do.
Well, I mean, clearly, your dedication is and your passion is a lifelong, journey for you. But for sure, writing the book. How many years have you been saying, okay, one day I know I'm going to have to write a book. It's going to be it's a lot of work, sitting down and staying still. Those are all things to take into consideration.
I've lost count, but it is something I would like to do. And there are these articles, you see them, where they ask authors, what are your writing habits? Some people say I write from 6 to 10 in the morning. Some people say I write from 10 to 2. I write all night. So I've got to find that space that works for me. But I think this is a good time to do it. I have a couple of ideas about what I'd like to do. So I have to get to that. I'm stepping down as of June 30 of 26. And then after that, we'll figure out how to write the book.
Well, amazing. And kol hakavod for all of the dedicated, lifelong career work that you have done for the Jewish people.
Thank you.
And
thanks again for having me.
Looking forward to hearing how the book comes along.
Right. Thanks again.
And now turning on to a war of words on social media between the Auschwitz Memorial Museum and Israel's Yad Vashem, and it's now reopened the debate on Poland's complicity in World War II. This came days after the American ambassador to Warsaw said that calling Poland responsible for the deaths of Jews during World War II is a quote-unquote blood libel. And as I-24 News senior correspondent Owen Alterman describes, it is a very touchy subject in Poland.
The argument over Poland and the Holocaust is back. Years after the controversial Holocaust law passed the Polish parliament and was signed by Poland's president, back into the headlines is this fraught issue of Holocaust memory and Poland's record in the Holocaust. Two incidents just over the course of the last week. First of all, Yad Vashem, the Israeli Holocaust Memorial Museum, putting out a seemingly innocuous tweet saying that Poland was the first country in which Jews had to wear a distinctive badge. That got a very, very quick slapdown from the Polish government, which demanded a clarification. Why? Because its clarification was that Poland was German-occupied during the Holocaust, and there shouldn't be any implication that it was the Polish government that ordered Jews to put on the badges. Yad Vashem then puts up that clarification, but that didn't satisfy Poland's foreign minister, who went so far as to summon the Israeli ambassador in Warsaw over the incident. And a second incident, the U.S. ambassador in Poland, playing to the home crowd, if you will, basically goes out and says that it's a blood libel to suggest that Poland was responsible for the Holocaust. And that generated also its share of replies in the Jewish world, of some saying, not so fast, has the ambassador gone too far? This issue of Poles and the Holocaust is an extremely sensitive one in Poland. I know myself from covering this issue a number of years ago. So what are the facts? Well, there's actually more agreement than I think people often recognize. On one hand, Poland was occupied by Nazi Germany throughout the Second World War. It was not Poland that decided to build Auschwitz. It was Nazi Germany and its local occupation government in Poland that did so. In terms of also laws that were promulgated against Jews, as the Polish government rightly mentioned, those were not laws passed by a Polish government, which in any case was in exile in London, but instead by the Nazi authorities themselves. On the other hand, all sides recognized that there were individual Poles who were complicit and who participated in the crimes of the Holocaust, who worked at Auschwitz, who murdered Jews, who cooperated with the Nazi Germans. At the individual level, of course, a country as large as Poland is going to have some who participate in the crimes, and that is agreed. So what's the disagreement? Well, what to do about the nebulous idea of the Polish nation? Is the Polish nation or Polish people responsible for the Holocaust? It's hard even to answer the questions. We don't have polls to go by during those years about how it is that Poles felt about what was going on around them. There are a significant number of Poles who have been named by Yad Vashem as righteous among the nations, the largest of any country in occupied Europe. And on the other hand, of course, there are many Poles who are part and took part in the Holocaust and were part of committing its crimes. But how to account for the vast majority of the Polish public that was simply struggling to survive in a very, very difficult situation, being under occupation in what was often a war zone over the course of the Second World War? Almost an unanswerable question, but an extremely important one for Poland and for people throughout the Jewish world. At any rate, this is an issue that's not going away, a highly charged issue both in Poland and in the Jewish world, because Poland, of course, was a country demographically that it was at the heart of Ashkenazi Jewish Europe, with 3 million Jews living in interwar Poland on the eve of the Holocaust. So again, an issue that's not going away, that is often spilled over from the realms of academia and society into politics itself, as we've seen over the course of the last week, and a discussion that will certainly go on for years to come.
After 2 years of war, thousands of young Israeli soldiers were injured defending the country, and a New York organization, Belev Echad, is helping those soldiers not only get their lives back with rehabilitation and professional psychiatric help, but also improving their lives, giving them a sense of community with fellow soldiers in similar positions. Here's more from I-24 News senior U.S. correspondent Mike Wagenheim, who went to their gala in New York.
The climate for the Israel Defense Forces in New York City is about to grow darker. But at the annual gala for Belev Echad, an organization supporting wounded IDF soldiers, the goal was to let the light shine through.
The energy is so electric, it's so beautiful. Jews from all walks of life came together tonight. Reform, Orthodox, conservative, unaffiliated, all united as one around one cause. Israel, our soldiers, we are all united. We are all belev echad, one people, one heart.
1,200 people gathered at a Manhattan hotel, hearing stories of heartbreak and inspiration from IDF soldiers battling back from devastating injuries. Like Idan Betzaleli, shot through the jaw and throat defending Kibbutz Zakim on October 7th. During his long recovery in the hospital, the Belev Echad house, located in central Israel, came calling.
One day, someone just came to my room, talked to me about Belev Echad and what it's doing, as who's the people that in the Belev Echad house. And I thought to myself, why not? I just came one day, saw all the amazing people, amazing injured soldiers like me that have the same stories, the same feelings, the same PTSD as me, and they helped me a lot with my rehabilitation process. They helped me a lot to get better, to feel good about myself. I did so many things there, physically, mentally, and some things that will help me in the future.
Injured by a Hezbollah missile while protecting Israel's northern border, Shira Nave underwent multiple surgeries, spending 7 months in rehab while connecting with Belev Echad.
They invited me to visit. They even have transportation to get there. I went to see what it was all about, and I realized it was amazing. Then later, I started going there for treatments, to see a psychologist, to work out at the gym, and it really became a break from my rehabilitation.
We raised $5 million from this evening that will go directly to support our wounded soldiers who need our help so much. This evening was an evening of hearing from our soldiers, being with our soldiers, witnessing their pain, witnessing their rising, their success, how they've overcome tremendous challenges. And tonight was a celebration of Am Yisrael Chai, of Belev Echad, of one heart with all of us together.
From New York City, Mike Wagenheim, I-24 News.
It's one of the greatest historical jigsaw puzzles ever discovered. Hundreds of thousands of Jewish manuscripts hidden for centuries in an old synagogue in Cairo. Now, because of AI, it's stepping up in a way to help piece it all together using machine learning. Researchers say they can finally read and reconnect fragments that have puzzled scholars for generations. Here's more from I-24 News host and correspondent Natasha Kurchuk.
Apparently, AI can now read 900-year-old handwriting, and it's opening a window into Jewish life from the Middle Ages. At the National Library of Israel, researchers are using artificial intelligence to transcribe and even connect hundreds of thousands of ancient Jewish documents, most of them from Cairo Geniza, a kind of sacred storage room for worn-out texts. For more than a century, scholars have been trying to piece these fragments together by hand, but they've only managed to transcribe about 15%. Now, AI is changing that.
For the first time, we are applying AI transcription technology on very fragile items in mass. Until now, something like 15% have been transcribed manually during 100 years, 120 years. Now we have created a transcription of the entire Geniza, 750,000 photos, about 300,000 items that are inscribed.
That's everything from 10th century Torah commentaries to personal letters written in Hebrew, Aramaic, Arabic, and even Yiddish.
We have scripts from many different hundreds of years, many different regions, many different languages. It can be in Hebrew, it can be in Aramaic, it can be in Judeo-Arabic, it can be in Yiddish. It's very tough for the computer to master this, and we're surprised by the advances.
Among the most fascinating finds, a 16th century letter from Rachel, a widow in Jerusalem, to her son in Egypt. His reply scribbled in the margins describing how he survived a plague sweeping through Cairo. The project is called Midrash, and it's led by scholars from Israel, France, and the US. Together, they're teaching machines to read ancient handwriting and recognize connections across centuries.
We will be able to do automatic classifications for the genre, for the language we already are, for the century, both text-wise and script-wise. We will be able to tell whether this manuscript was written by the same person, maybe traveled from maybe Spain to Cairo. The possibility to reconstruct, to make a kind of Facebook of Middle Ages is just before our eyes now.
The goal isn't just to preserve history, it's to reconnect it. With AI helping to decode these fragile scraps, the voices of 1,000 years ago are finally being heard again.
And that's all for this week's episode of Jewish World Weekly. You can head over to our i24 News YouTube channel, our website, i24news.tv, as well, of course, all of our social media platforms. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Emily Francis, and shalom from Tel Aviv.